Hey everybody, welcome back to Off the Wall. I'm Mike.
And I'm Sol.
And we're here to review episode 2 of season 1, maybe, of She-Hulk Attorney at Law. I'm not doing this one by myself this time. Sol is here, and we can finally get her input on this, because I feel like if it was just me, for whatever reason, reviewing this show, it would come across differently. But I like to think I kept things balanced in the episode 1 review. But episode 2, we are continuing right after the events of episode 1. Jen is being labeled She-Hulk by a weird pervy guy in a news interview, and life kind of gets out of hand real quick for a little while there. Since we didn't get your thoughts on episode 1, Sol, let's get your thoughts just kind of on these 2 episodes as a whole, from the beginning to where we left off at the end of episode 2.
This show works best when it's Bruce and Jen together. I really like their relationship and their dynamic because it really does feel like 2 family members, 2 cousins. Like, I have a bunch of cousins, and that is exactly how we treat one another. It's with a lot of love, but also giving each other a lot of shit, like all the times, and noticing each other's flaws in a sense. So in those parts of the episodes, especially last episode, and then like the little itty bitty part there, that's what's good. That's kind of all that's good for me right now of this show. When it's not Bruce and Jen, the writing, I don't know, like I just feel with this show so far. Like, there's nothing that's making me excited to continue other than like, oh, I gotta continue because of this YouTube channel.
Yeah, like if I didn't know Daredevil was coming,
Right,
like I am running out of reasons fast to keep watching this show, because like you said, when it's Jen and Bruce together, the writing is on point. It's funny, for the most part. It's clever, it's good. Their chemistry, like, I hope at some point we get to see like their screen test audition together.
yeah,
Because they look, I mean, with the way her hair curls kind of the same way his does, you buy them as relatives.
right. More so than her family this episode too.
Which that broke my heart so much, because we just did Ms. Marvel, which was all about family, and the family dynamic was so good on that show. And man, that family scene was hard to get through in episode 2. It was bad.
Yeah.
I really wanted to like her dad. I really did. I kind of started to get there towards the end, but just, and I know like the idea is supposed to be that they come from this like embarrassing family, and it's like that you can do embarrassing. We had an embarrassing family on Ms. Marvel, but it was funny. It was heartfelt. They still felt like a loving family that were just dorky. This just felt like an absent-minded, neglectful family, but I'm honestly not sure if that was supposed to be on purpose or not.
Yeah, the family felt like the writing was trying to be like, look at this goofy family that embarrasses her. And it's like they were trying too hard to have that come across, instead of just doing more natural family things, where you saw the more natural family things with Bruce and Jen together in the first episode, where they are being goofy with one another and they are coming off as a familial unit that is going to embarrass each other. Whereas the family scene in this, the second episode, I'm like, this is like, and I was looking forward to it because I was like, maybe when she's with her family, things are better in the show. Not the case.
Yeah, like she's at her lowest of her low, and it's like her family. And like, I don't know what they're going for with Ched. I don't need to see him ever again.
Yeah,
I don't need to see.
Congratulations on your promotion to manager at Best Buy.
Yeah, whoop-de-doo. Nobody shops at Best Buy anymore. It's fine. I don't know. And that also makes it really hurt because I hated the family scene so much. That post-credit scene fell flat.
Yeah.
felt so when you take into account how good the post-credit scene was for episode 1.
Yeah.
You know, Captain America. Oh, like it's so good. It's so funny. It's funny how the episode I liked episode 2 more than episode 1, but it's funny how episode 1, which I really didn't like, had a great post-credit scene, and episode 2, which I was on board for, had a wasted post-credit scene because it leaned
And we're
into
getting post-credit scenes now too, which like we haven't really gotten on every episode of other Disney Plus shows.
it is interesting when you consider that this show has more episodes in its season, and the episodes are kind of the shortest they've been as well. Because these are cable broadcast sitcom episode length. They're barely 30 minutes. So it's I don't know, it's a curious approach to it. Let's not hammer on the bad too much right off the start. We'll get back to it. But let's go into some positive stuff real quick. Like what were some things about this episode we liked?
So yeah, definitely that small call there with Bruce, and just their relationship of like she's not letting him have any word in because she's just trying to tell her part completely. And like I've been there before when you're like, I have to say something to someone and I don't know if they're gonna like it or not. I think that they're not gonna like it, so I just need to continue talking and not have any space in the way that I'm talking. See, like I'm doing right now. That's what she was doing in her phone conversation with Ruth. So I love that part. And then I kind of like Emil Blonsky had a point when like they were talking like, I was this decorated person who was given a super soldier serum by the government and told to attack this person by the government. And so it's the government's fault. And then now he's viewed as a hero and I'm viewed like as a monster and has to be kept in this kind of, so like in those sense, I was just like, oh.
Yeah. We know that there's a little more nuance to that because we've seen the movie. So we know he's not being 100% forthcoming.
Yeah.
But he's a bad guy, so I don't expect him to.
Right.
But it's a clever twist. It's a clever.
If you haven't seen the movie, you'd be like, okay, maybe he's not a bad guy.
And speaking of that movie, speaking of the movie The Incredible Hulk, that little meta fourth wall break moment with her and Bruce on the phone, the whole I was a completely different person back then. I texted you guys. I was like, I just laughed so hard at a fourth wall break on this episode because I had to pause the episode.
Yeah.
Because that was, again, when it's the two of them together, the writing is so good. And it's clear Marvel knows how to write Bruce Banner.
Yeah.
But that little meta joke was flawless. No notes, 10 out of 10. Just so good, especially because then she looks at the camera and goes, haha. Like, we get it. It's funny. And also it's a nice way for them to actually really and truly acknowledge that, Incredible Hulk is still part of the MCU. It never stopped, but it's often forgotten because it's fine at best. But
even in the MCU rewatch with my parents, like we skipped over it. We didn't watch it.
It's one of those, I like everybody in it. I just don't like love the movie they're in, but it's just, but with this one, Blonsky was that whole sequence was so funny. And so the haikus, I hope those get released Blonsky's haikus. Put them on a blog online or something, put them in tweets make us, we've seen how with the Titania stuff, that's like, we haven't come back to that yet, but I'm assuming we're going to, because she's got high billing on the show, the actress, and also they're going nuts with the viral marketing for it. She's got her own Titania, the character, has her own verified Twitter account. The actress playing her, whose name I do not have in front of me right now,
Jamil.
Yes, thank you. Is going around and like supervised and candidly, but like vandalizing some of the She-Hulk advertising they have on the streets, and so they're really leaning into it. So I'm assuming she's coming back as the super powered influencer, I think is what they called her during which. Okay, I guess that's a thing. I haven't watched like Runaways, so I don't know if that's a thing or not, but
I haven't seen Runaways either. I watched what was that one set in New Orleans with the it's like white power and a black power. Like those
Lock
are the
and
colors.
Key.
Not Lock and Key.
Oh no.
Well, come back to it. It's
Okay.
Marvel.
Okay. I don't know what you're talking about, but it's fine. Yeah, it's there was. And one thing I'd like too is I was talking with a buddy of mine earlier today is the whole situation with her losing her job, like from a logistical standpoint, yeah, that makes a lot, and that's something I did not consider going into this. I was like, yeah, you couldn't have a public superhero as a DA.
Yeah,
That's every case you do is going to get a mistrial.
exactly. And just to talking about, and we saw it a little bit with Falcon and Winter Soldier when like Falcon couldn't, now Captain America couldn't get a loan. It's like, don't they pay you guys? Kind of like there's not really a pay, there's not really benefits for the Avengers. So Tony kind of pretty much paid for everything.
Yeah.
Tony's no longer around. Spoiler. So so kind of in that, it's just like, okay, if I were to be a hero, what are my benefits? Because like I need to possibly go to the doctor every once in a while or do something that like I would require benefits. What are they?
It's interesting you bring that up too, because I haven't read hardly any She-Hulk comics, but I do know that in the comics, I believe She-Hulk was instrumental in getting basically a legal policy implemented that like led to like basically a benefit support system for like the Avengers. Like they basically, especially like I think it was post Civil War when they were government funded, basically like getting them set up to where they were kind of getting that dealt with, because that's come up twice in the show now. The idea of like, so what become an Avenger? Do they have maternity leave? Do they have benefits package? Do they have this? I feel like we might see her do that if she's going to head up this super powered legal division at this law firm. Maybe that's something that we go towards in the show. I'd be cool with that. That'd be neat.
Let's pay these people. And the show I was thinking of was Cloak and Dagger.
Cloak and Dagger. That's what it was. Okay.
Because like one power, like the lighting of the power was white, and the other power was very much like black lighting from it. So I was like,
I don't know why I thought Lock and Key, because that's not even close. Anyway, it's there's the stuff the way they worked around that was great. I am still trying to figure out, I don't want to go into the negative yet, but I'm still trying to figure out what the hell Ginger, what's her friend's name? And now I'm blanking on the actress's name too. Her first name's Ginger. Her buddy though. Buddy, I'm still trying to figure out like what she's doing. But
she's a paralegal and worked with her in the DA's office, and now like was a requirement for her to get this new job in the law firm that it was the people she was going against. And so they were like, okay, we saw you going against us and you had a good argument before and won the case before we kind of put a mistrial on it because of you being She-Hulk. So if you're able to do that, come work for us. Oh, and also you need to take this case with Emil Blonsky. We don't care if he's tried to kill your cousin. He will actually sign a waiver here. And if you don't take it, then you're fired.
Right. But what I guess what I'm saying is like, I'm trying to figure out what purpose her character is going to serve other than just
being the best friend.
I know. I just,
this is a superhero sitcom, and you always have the best friend. She's like the Kimmy in Full House, or the like pretty much in just any sitcom. Like you have the best friend that comes in and is like, hey, like I'm your girl, like friend, like let's go drink, let's go have fun. I'm always excited to be around you. Yeah, positivity.
And also, can I just say though, I will say her friend, I don't know who's doing her wardrobe. Give them a raise, because she is serving up some looks every time she is on stage or on screen. Strut that runway. Yes. Also, love the legal assistant in the office who comes in and said, here's a map of all the best bathrooms to poop in. I have needed that at every job I've ever had. What's the best bathroom to go to when I'm not going to make it to the end of my shift? It's you need to know that.
Where I can have my privacy.
I need my privacy. So what I really need to get into, I mean, because like I said, I like this episode better than episode 1, but there is still a lot left to be desired on this show. And we've only seen the first 2. I know that like some of the bigger channels and all that were able to see like the first 4 early,
Mhm.
and the common theme seems to be that like it gets better with each episode, and I really hope that rings true, because I still have a big problem with the way they're writing a lot of the secondary and tertiary characters, because they are flat.
Yeah.
The douchebag ADA she was working with,
Yeah.
like he's like
Such an he's like, oh, I see a hot chick. I'm gonna go talk to it.
like
It.
yeah, even from just like a dark comedic standpoint, that's not even funny.
Yeah.
Like
And
I don't know. It's especially because he that one character has been all over the place in the 3 scenes he's had. In the very first scene, he wasn't like douchey or dickish. He was just kind of being blunt and like, look, we got to win this case. Do it like this. And
let me take over it because I
Yeah.
have more experience than you.
Yeah. And then that second scene is where in the courtroom is where he's kind of like, okay, he's being kind of a dick, but he's also not
He's
wrong.
just kind of being like one of those lawyers.
He's just being a lawyer.
Yeah.
And then in this scene, he is just a dick. And I'm like,
Right.
what are we doing with this guy? I hope this is the last time we see him, because
It's probably not, but it's pretty much showing like, oh, look at because they made a precedent in the first episode, which with the like, oh, I'm a woman, so I have to deal with my anger all the time in a kind of a way, which, yes, that's very true. I think Bogz and I have spoken to this a bunch of times, like more like on the minority kind of base, but I believe it too with women as well. Like, yes, you can be showing minorities or showing women problems and but do it in a clever way, because when it kind of comes out like when you're just like preaching and giving like exposition but not actually like showing it in ways like it just sounds, I hate this word, but it sounds woke kind of like thing.
Yeah.
And so you're like, oh, look at this douchey guy that she has to deal with at work, which that happens all the time. But you could do it in a more clever way. It kind of like shows that like, oh, we're just inputting him to say something really douchey, and then he's walking away, and you're not really seeing the consequences of his douchiness on her as a job, because she does get fired because of being She-Hulk. But I think like in the first episode, if you would have shown like her trying to do her job and him, by being a douchey male, stopping her at every road and making her job and her like worse, then that's a smart way to show like this is what women have to deal with in the workplace. But instead they're just having him say some off-color stuff.
It wasn't even off color. It was just I was like, who wrote that?
Yeah.
Like, and this is gonna sound, I don't mean this to sound the way it's going to, but just bear with me here.
Okay.
That line, that whole "I'm gonna go talk to it" line, sounded like it was written by one of 2 people, and that's either a guy who has been a dork all his life and has no idea how cool guys talk, and he's just saying what he thinks they say, or it was written by a woman who has no idea how guys talk and was writing what she thinks guys say to themselves before they go do something douchey. Like that line sounded like it was written by someone who was trying to write for a let's call it a demographic that they themselves didn't understand.
And I think that's not even like writing for a demographic, but the trying too hard. I think I would pace this episode as the writers trying too hard with the family, trying too hard with this character, just trying too hard to convey something that you don't have to actually try that hard to do, because that is a fact as a woman, shit that we do have to deal with. So you don't have to try that hard to depict that. But when you do try too hard, it just comes off disingenuous.
That's what I said when I talked about episode 1 was show me, don't tell me. Like show these things happening to her prior to the moment with doing yoga, because if you just tell me, it feels like pandering.
Yeah.
Because
Because like me as a woman, I know that.
yeah, you
But
do.
yeah.
I know as a relatively intelligent human being that these things do happen, but I'm not going to connect with this character having this emotion if I haven't seen them go through it. Because the only time we see her really go through it in the first episode is the douchebags outside the bar, which that scene lasts like 7 seconds. And the minute it starts, she hulks out and wrecks these dudes.
Yeah.
And so it kind of contradicts her whole thing of, I have to control my emotions with guys hitting on me. It's like, you literally just didn't.
Yeah.
Again, I know there's a Hulk thing in there, but it's like, show me. I think what they should have done is they should have dropped both these episodes on the same day. And I think they should have put some of the different scenes in a different order. Like, I think episode 2 should have been Hulk training montage. Like, have all this other negative shit happen to her in the first episode. Like, she gets the Hulk powers and all that, goes back to her regular life, tries to leave, shit happens, turns into She-Hulk in the courtroom, other lawyer dudes being a douchebag to her about it. She gets fired at the end of the episode. And then episode 2 is, I can't figure out what to do with my life now. I don't know what to do. Bruce says, come out here and let's have a Hulk training montage. We're gonna do a montage. And then that ends with her going back and, like, while she's there, gets a phone call from this other law firm. We want you to come head up our superpower division, go do this thing with Blonsky. Now we're off and running. Now I've seen all this shit happen to her where she had to be the strong woman putting up with all this crap. And then when she has that moment with Bruce doing the yoga, now I've seen it all happen. I can relate to that moment better.
Right. And it really comes to, like, we're going to harp on the writing of this show. And I'm opposite of you. I like the first episode more than this episode. And that's mainly because the first episode had a lot of Jen and Bruce.
Which that's the best thing this show has going for it. And from what I've heard, he's kind of done in the show at this point. Like, we're probably not going to see him again. If that's the case, that is a missed opportunity.
I mean, I know that we're going to get Wong probably next episode because of the whole Emil Blonsky, like, he's in Madripoor fighting as Abomination. So, and we already know that from watching Falcon and Winter Soldier and watching where else did they show Madripoor? Which movie? They all blend together.
I mean, well, Shang-Chi is where that whole thing happened.
Yeah. Shang-Chi. There we go. Yeah. I'm like, it's not Doctor Strange.
Wong in everything right now.
Right. So, like, more Wong is always a good thing.
Yes, please.
Because great character, makes me laugh every time he's on screen. So, and she's even joked in, like, the her fourth wall break in the commercials is like, there's going to be some, like, cameos here and there. Obviously, we know Daredevil's going to be one of them. But yeah, I don't know with this show what they're trying to achieve, especially to, like, the first episode. The worst part is the villain coming out of nowhere with Titania, and then, like, not picking up with that. In this episode, we have no idea what's happening to her. And it kind of, like, is giving me, you know how, like, we're watching Harley Quinn now, and, like, something will happen in an episode and then leave it, and then we don't go to it the next episode, and it's like 2 or 3 episodes down the line you pick up to what happened there, which I'm kind of like, that's a way to tell a story, I guess.
It's a weird thing to have her bust in and have this fight at the end of episode 1, and then it is glossed over in 10 seconds at the beginning of this episode, and it is not mentioned again.
Right.
And again, like, I know
it was like, we have to show that she's She-Hulk so that way she can get fired. How can we do that?
Again, it's just it comes down to just writing. The writing. It's like, I get who they're aiming for as a target audience, but they don't seem to know how to reach that target audience. And from what some of the actors and, like, Kevin Feige and stuff have said, like, they're planning on using She-Hulk to, like, be kind of a big pivot point for going forward into the next phase of the MCU. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever the point is, we better get there, because
Right.
2 episodes in, we ain't there.
Because Maslany's doing a really good job as her. Like, she's doing really well with what she's been given.
Yeah.
And I would say that, like, a lot of times, like, you have great actors who are doing the best they can do, but if they're given a crappy script, or if they're given something, like, there's so much they can do. There's only so much they can do with it.
Yeah.
So the reason why there's enjoyable moments in these first 2 episodes is because the acting is good.
Yeah. It's none of the problems I have with this show 2 episodes in are with any of the actors. All the actors are giving 100%. It's just they're working with what they got.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really hoping, which again makes me feel nervous now about the fact that Daredevil's coming in. We've already had a couple of the writers like, oh, we're exploring a different side of this character. And I'm like, well, if you're exploring him the way you're exploring some of these other characters, that doesn't make me feel good.
Yeah, especially he's so beloved from the Netflix series.
Ooh, it's one of those, like, if they somehow screw up their use of Daredevil, like, there will be riots. like of everything that Marvel has done in the MCU since its inception, Daredevil, particularly Charlie Cox's Daredevil, is like top 3.
Yeah.
And that is not a, because people have been kind of with phase 4 so far. Squandering, for lack of a better word, Daredevil is not the way to win them back over. So we'll see. I really hope that it holds true to what everyone's saying, that it does get better.
Yeah. And I know that some people too were saying it gets better, but episode 4 is a little weird, which that's been the case with why is it always episode 4 that's weird?
Seriously, why is it at episode 4 everyone forgets what they're doing?
But watching this episode, I'm like, okay, we have her family is weird. Hopefully we don't get more of that. Her and her like family. Hopefully we get more of her and Bruce. It looks like that's probably not going to be the case, because that's the best part. And hopefully just like the stuff with Emil Blonsky, I hope that becomes interesting and fun. And then we get more of Titania, which I think they say too, the first 4 episodes, there's not much of her.
And I know we're doing 9 instead of 6, which is a little bit of a cushion, but we're also doing incredibly short episodes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'd rather have longer episodes than do it in short little bursts like this. Like, I'd rather do 6 45-minute episodes, or like we did in WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where we had 9 45-minute episodes, and they're pretty good.
Falcon was 6.
Was it 6?
Too. Yeah.
What if was 9 episodes?
What if was 9? And the thing too is learn to see what show you have, because some shows are better week to week, which go check out our House of the Dragon stuff. Like that kind of show is a week to week show.
Yeah.
You need a week to process what you're watching.
Yeah.
I think shows like She-Hulk and some of these Disney Plus shows should do the Netflix model of just drop.
Binge it. Yeah. So especially if they're going to be that short, just drop it. Drop the whole damn thing, or do it 2 episodes at a time.
Yeah.
Because again, I feel like these 2 episodes told a decent story.
Mm-hmm.
Each episode individually, not so much. Like these 2 needed to be together. Because what I ended up doing was I watched episode 1 again, and then watched episode 2 right after, and I was like, okay, these work great as a pair. And they kind of elevated episode 1 a little bit for me, but still as a whole, I really hope the writing gets better. It's just this, the biggest problem, even like the CGI looks fine. The biggest problem with this show is the script. The script is a big problem with this show, and I'm hoping that that's just like new character, early episode jitters, and that they
Yeah.
going forward.
I mean, a lot of sitcoms, look at the first season of any sitcom.
Ooh.
They're all rough. Even some of the best sitcoms, like Parks and Rec,
That
is
first
an
season is
amazing show. That first season is rough to rewatch.
season
And the
2 is
thing,
basically a reboot.
yeah, where like this is a sitcom.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's
This
a
is Ally
sitcom.
McBeal. This is Boston Legal. This is an insert single female lawyer show here.
Yeah. So I think this is the type of show that would benefit from having multiple seasons because it can only get better.
It's true. That's true. Yeah. So I'm looking for I am strangely looking forward to next week, mostly because it's like, okay, I want to see where we're going with this. But also if I can get more Tim Roth in anything and the promise of Benedict Wong. All right, you got me for now. The minute they're off the show, the minute they're not on the show anymore, though. Anyway, we want to know, what did you guys think of this episode of She-Hulk? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Where are you sitting? Let us know in the comments, or let us know on Twitter. And you can find all our Twitter stuff in the description of this video. Like it, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Check out our House of the Dragon reviews. Both of those are up now as well. So check those out, and we'll see you guys again next time here on Off the Wall. Bye.